difficult to grade it when I ask you guys to run or to originate code, because some programs work a little bit, and some programs do not work, but the logic is mostly there, just missing key pieces. So that makes it really, really hard for me to grade, because how many points should I assign to the proper loop, as opposed to how many points should I assign to the proper access of the parameters, that sort of thing. So what I will do is, what the practice exam is going to show you. The practice exam only has 4 questions. The actual exam may or may not have only 4 questions. But 4 would be pretty much the minimum of the number. So in this case, all of these questions have the format of this way, of this kind of format. Download and analyze the code of this folder, and the folder itself, if you look at the URL, is a TGZ file. In other words, every single question has a TGZ file that you can download to your virtual machine. If you do not want to use the virtual machine, you can probably just eyeball the thing and turn it in without a virtual machine. You can change the program to use the C version of the function. In this case, vector init is one of the functions to see what it is supposed to do. To run the program, use /main24. In this case, I explained the program accepts numerical parameters through the command line, so there's no need to use standard in. There's no file in and no file out. I put everything on the command line itself. The assembly version of vector init in this case is implemented incorrectly. In other words, I wrote the subroutine, but it is not done correctly. Plus, there are also problems in vector inc.c, so the include file generator itself also has some problems. Fix as many mistakes as you can find. Do not re-implement the subroutine from scratch. Okay, I know some of you are very tempted to do that, but do not do that. Just change the minimal amount necessary to make the code work. So that means you have to understand my code. You cannot just say, okay, I know how to do this from scratch, and I'll just go ahead and do it from scratch. You actually have to understand the existing code in the program and make it work. You can add additional instructions and or labels as necessary, but do not add any more than necessary. Okay, that's kind of redundant. When you're done, this is the fun part. Before, you have to remember that tar command thing, and sometimes you put in the wrong tag and it doesn't work anymore. This time, I integrate the tar file generation inside the make file. So you just say make tilde home folder /md answer.tgz, and it will be done automatically. I named all the problems with the practice exam, under all the 7 deadly sins. Yes. And then the archive will be automatically generated, and you want to upload that file through the upload interface. So they all look like this, okay, except the description of how to use main is slightly different, and the subroutine that you have to debug is also different. But each one will test you on a slightly different thing, so they will cover enough stuff, basically everything that we have talked about in this class will be covered by these questions. Except for the bus operation. Remember, at the very early part, we talked about the memory bus, address bus, and stuff like that. So that portion will not be included in the test.
Are we going to do global variables? Are we going to do any global variables, since that's kind of which is leading up to how to do global variables?
Well, since global variables are evil, we do not use those anymore. It should be classified as one of the 7 deadly sins, global variables. We'll add it as the 8th.
And demonized global variables.
We can add also a 9th one, go-tos.
Oh.
Break, continue, those are all bad. Yes. Okay, so let's just go ahead and see how you can easily set this up in your virtual machine, because efficiency is important for your test. You want to be able to do it as quickly as possible. So what we want to do is to go into a command prompt just like this one, and I opened up too many, press the wrong key. There we go. All right, so what we want to do is to set up a folder for this. And assuming this is actually your virtual machine, what you can do is to create a folder under your name, and we'll just pretend that this is the folder under your name, under CISP310. So today is what? 050. Did I create a folder for today? I thought I
You
did.
missed a digit.
I did not.
Yes. Not yet.
Okay. Okay.
Exists.
Oh, I did.
Yes.
I did tore a putty tat. I did tore a putty tat. Alrighty. So what we'll do is to pretend this is the folder where you want to expand the tar file, and you guys would like this because it will save you a lot of time. What you do is you go to this link here, you right click, and you say copy link location, because the link location will link to a resource that is outside of some profs, which means you do not need authentication to get to it. And then so over here, you type wget, which is a command line program that is already installed on your virtual machines, and you just double click or paste the name of the tar file or the URL of the tar file. And what wget does is kind of like a command line version of a browser. You just give it the URL of the resource, and it will go ahead and get it. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then you just press the enter key. It will go through what it has to do to get to the file, assuming it resolves power. Okay, took a little bit longer than I thought, but it did. Okay, so now you can see that we have a bad env.tgz file because this one has problem. So there's bad env and there's good env. So we say tar xzvf and then the file name, and that will create the subfolder env just like that. So once we have the subfolder env, the first thing you want to do is if you don't want to deal with a timestamp issue, one thing you can do is simply to touch everything in the folder. So that will synchronize the timestamp of all the files with your current time, and the makefile will not have a problem after that. Any questions so far?
Are you gonna put this somewhere where I will be able to see it?
I'm going to put this on YouTube, so I'm hoping that you guys know how to use YouTube. I'm not kidding. We actually had a faculty member in the CIS department who did not know about the existence of YouTube.
Or which person?
I do not remember.
That's a confidentiality.
I do not recall. Okay, but there was one person I talked to did not even know that there's such a thing called YouTube.
How recently?
Like last week.
Maybe they were just joking.
It did not seem to be a joking kind of context. All right, so here we have env as a folder. The first thing you might want to do is to go to main.c, because all the C programs are contained in main.c, which is fairly typical of what you would expect. Okay, we can turn on syntax highlighting. It doesn't really help a whole lot. So in this case, the subroutine that I am implementing is called vector init, which is this one here, okay, the one that I'm showing right now. Except my implementation is flawed, okay, it is incorrect. But the C implementation is correct, okay. Everything that is uploaded here, they are all tested already. Are there any questions? Does this ring a bell? Does it look